late to join it to do a start a dynasty league now.
It's not gonna go. Welcome to the Fishbowl, right, everybody. My name is Chief here, and welcome to the show, Juice. How you doing today?
I'm all right, man. How you doing?
We're just talking about a little bit about the Dynasty Football League that we're trying to set up here on the Fishbowl, huh?
Yep.
It should be a funny. It
Always
should be
trying. Always
like
trying something
a
new.
actual thing, like you're running a whole team for multiple seasons and stuff. But that's not what this episode's about. We're talking about LSU versus Alabama here. Saturday, they did announce the guest pickers for Saturday. It will be Livy Dunn and Paul Skeens being on College Game Day. So, um, that should be an interesting thing to see how they do here. But what do you think are the keys to the game, Juicy, for LSU and Alabama?
Well, I think the keys to the game for LSU keep Jalen Milroe off rhythm. Get pressure. I mean, LSU's been doing pretty good at getting pressure on quarterbacks here lately, especially since Harold Perkins going down now. A&M, they played well in the first half. The defense, second half, well, they really couldn't have no answer for the quarterback in the second half. But I can't think of his name, and I should, but I can't remember his name. But the game before with Jackson Dart when they played Ole Miss, they played real well, looked good. And Ken Nussmeier actually, not throw too many picks. I mean, he's a great quarterback. I'm not saying he's bad. Just sometimes he gets a little wild with the football. He likes to gunsling, make something happen. And can he not make mistakes? And can LSU really get a good running game? That's going to be the three biggest things for me.
Yeah, I think entering this game against Alabama, I think having a spy on Milroe is going to be a very important part of this LSU defensive attack here. Whenever you look at it from that perspective here, so on the defensive side of the ball, I think that's going to be one of the things that Blake Baker is going to be looking at. So it's going to be one of those things that you're going to see here, keeping him in the pocket. Make Milroe beat you throwing the football. I think it's the most important thing. Don't let him beat you with his feet here. And Alabama isn't the same Alabama team of old here like they normally are here. If you want to take a look at stats here on the season for Alabama, where they all rank at here, they're 47th in rushing and they're 42nd in passing, which is good for 37th best on offense. Their defense, they're 65th in the country against the run, and they're 34th against the pass. Now, the key for LSU, I think, is a little bit different than yours, UC. I think LSU needs to establish the running game because they're not game against Texas A&M. They really didn't run the ball very well. I think they had 40 yards of rushing throughout the whole entire game, or either way, it was below 50 yards of rushing for the whole entire game. That will not win you many football games here. If you don't have offensive balance, you can't let get the defense off of you. They're going to be on you the whole entire game if you don't have offensive balance. And I think that's going to be something that LSU really needs to dive into this game against Alabama, because I think that's going to be one of the big keys in this game here, because if you don't get it done up front here, and LSU's got the offensive line to do it. They have a lot of experience up front. I'm a little bit disappointed how they've done so far this year, technically, being one of the most experienced groups in all of college football, basically one of the best, and it just hasn't really panned out for them as far as
I'll
running
give
the
them. I'll
football
give
back.
them credit. I'll give them credit. They've done a pretty good. I mean, Nussmeier hasn't been sacked a whole bunch this year, but they haven't really been able to run the ball with them. But
I mean, that isn't that a good offensive line, running and passing though?
yeah, it is true. They just thought they would establish, be more physical, be more physical, and dominate. But they have done well pass blocking.
Well, I mean, they are sixth in the country in passing. LSU is, but they're 111th in the country in rushing. I think LSU needs to get that running game going to beat Alabama. But as great as their passing is, they're ranked 21st in the country overall in offense. Defensively, they're 84th against the pass and 48th against the run. Now, I don't think you can blame the defensive coordinator. I think it's just
Well, the
the
defense
players
has
will
looked a
feel at
lot
some point.
better. They
They are
have looked
better. I
better,
will say that they definitely took a step forward this year,
with the
but we'll see if they
exception
can
of
keep.
last week was kind of a fluke because they never really had to prepare for the backup quarterbacks. That was kind of just trying to. The game plan in the first half was working well. Let's just say that.
But I mean, you should do like a little scouting report just in case the guy comes in there and plays. You never know. Injuries happen, and that's typically what they do. They practice for both quarterbacks, and amongst most college football teams do that. I don't know what happened that week in preparation. I wasn't in the film room or anything like that, so I'm just kind of seeing what I saw on the television, and it didn't look like they did any like adjusting to that at all. They didn't
Didn't
try to
look
do any.
like they either adjusted or didn't really prepare well for them, but it looked like they had only one game plan, and that was for Wigman.
Yeah, and I mean they did a very good job stopping him in the first half, and then when you replaced him, and then it all went to destruction everywhere. So that's basically what happened there. So how you feel about LSU in this SEC standings position here? Well, we'll pull it up here real quick here, but let's see. Let me pull it up here. So this is the SEC standings, just to kind of give everybody a key. Georgia leading the way, A&M right there, right underneath them. Tennessee right there, Texas and LSU.
They're still in it. I mean, they're not eliminated from the.
But this game is going to decide a lot, though. This is a must-win game for LSU, I think. You lose
Or you could
this.
probably say for Alabama too, it'd be a must win because they got two losses.
Oh, I think Alabama got 2 losses in conference here, so you would have to literally run the table to get in there. So if LSU loses, you can kiss their college football playoff hopes goodbye, basically. Just the way it is, the 3 losses, you're not going to get in with that right now. LSU on the
Vandy, I
outside
know
looking in. Like I
Vandy
said
is.
many times before, and people haven't like we're still freaking out about it on Facebook. But if you were listening to us when we're talking about this kind of stuff, you have to be in the top 10 to be in that top 12 because you're already losing spots. You're already losing at least one spot to the G5, whoever the highest ranked team is, which right now is Boise State, which that could very well change. Um, yeah, I know we covered out the Cajuns on here too. They're in that mix too of that, so I think that deserves to be a little bit of a talking point there. But you're gonna top 10 line that I'm talking about. Georgia, let's say if it ended today and Georgia is the
Mhm.
champion of the SEC, they're locking up an auto bid there. Oregon's probably locking up an auto bid in the Big Ten. And then you got the ACC and the Big 12 team here. So, like I said, you got to be in that top 8 if you really want a spot there. You probably Notre Dame will probably end up getting one, maybe. Um, just depends. You
Boise
know, it's
State. Let's see.
it just depends on how this stuff shakes out. Like I think top 10 and 10's being very, very generous to a team here. You for best bet to make sure you make it in. I think you gotta be in the eighth or better ranked. I just don't see anybody 11th or 12th getting in unless it's an auto bid. What you think, Juicy?
I think so. I mean, I think so myself. I mean, you got what I would consider some bubble teams right here, right now. Alabama, SMU, LSU, A&M, Ole Miss. Some of these teams are Iowa State, and I would say Army. As far as Army too, these are all teams that are going to be vying for them last one or two spots.
Yeah, I think if you look at that right there, the way it's all formatted out here and the way the standings is, LSU still got to play. They got to play Vanderbilt. You see them down there. That Oklahoma
Gets a little bit
game,
easier.
yeah, but I wouldn't say Vanderbilt's a gimme. Definitely not.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Vanderbilt's a gimme like we thought at the start of the
Yeah,
year.
at the start of the season here. I just think it is doesn't help out well for them there. So looking ahead at LSU schedule and stuff here, and how all this shakes out here, you have Alabama, Florida, Vandy, and Oklahoma. Florida's looking like they're going to keep Billy Napier over there for another year, from what the reports are saying. Or
I
some
think
people
they'll
said they're
get
waiting to
by.
the
I
end of the
think
year to
they'll
get
get
rid of him.
by. I think they'll get by Florida though, relatively easy.
Yeah, I think the remaining schedule looks good for LSU, but I think it starts with Alabama. I think they have to win that game. I think like November is where championships are won,
You gotta
and
watch
this
that. You gotta watch Vandy though, because they've been sneaky here. So,
Yeah, Vandy is was sneaky good this whole year.
but Oklahoma's turned into nothing.
Yeah, they really kind of didn't do very well this year. They really stumbled out the gate and stuff. So I mean that's kind of one of the things there. So just looking at it there, I think LSU's in an interesting spot to say the least. I think they have to win every single game to get in the playoff, though. I think we're learning a lot about this playoff this year because of I think 2 wins you can be in the top 10 in the SEC, but the SEC does look down this year as a whole conference. The Big Ten looks like they've been the primary beneficiary of realignment so far. With I think they had like 4 or 5 teams in there in the first playoff thing. So uh, playoff release bracket. So it's gonna change throughout the week. So we're gonna see how that goes and stuff. But um, Alabama, like we said, they got to win, and there's a lot going on with that there. I just really don't know. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier for LSU is gonna. I think he's got the pass on Alabama to win. I don't trust LSU's run game too much, though, and I think that's the biggest concern with me. What do you think, Juicy?
Yeah, I have to agree with you, but I trust Nussmeier enough to throw it a lot, to throw it to a win if they have to. But you don't want to be too predictable for a defense. But uh, yeah, that running game could take a little, could help them have possession longer. Maybe help the defense get a little bit more rest. Uh, it does play a part in it. It runs some clock, especially when you have the lead. You need to learn how to run the ball too, eat some clock up.
Yeah, I think they need to keep Milrow on the sideline. I think that's LSU's best plan here. So, Juicy, let's make some picks, buddy. You think
Sure.
who uh who you got? LSU or Alabama?
Well, since it's in Baton Rouge, LSU's played pretty well at home this year. I'm a I'm gonna say it's gonna be close. Don't get me wrong, but I think LSU does just enough on defense and just enough in the running game. I think LSU Saturday night in Death Valley. I think they'll do just enough, and I think they'll pull out a win on them though.
Another guy that LSU's got to contend with here is Jam Miller as well and Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams is Jalen Milrow's favorite target so far this year. Alabama's favored by 3, which you had mentioned in the pre-show. This one I've been flip flopping on because I just don't know. I feel like Alabama reminds me of a Jekyll and Hyde team. They can look really good and they can look really, really bad at times. I don't know which one shows up Saturday. LSU's inconsistent too. They'll play some bad, like really bad games, but then get by. If they play bad against Alabama, they're going to lose. Obviously,
Both of their losses have been outside of Tiger Stadium, though.
yeah. Um, and they had to come back against Ole Miss to win that one. I think it's imperative LSU has the running game for this one. So I think run the football, get back that old smash mouth style of football LSU used to play. But man, dude, this one's got me perplexed. Hmm.
I say when in doubt. When in doubt, I usually just go with the home team. When in doubt.
Yeah, I don't feel good about it, but I'm confidence is like maybe 15% with my pick. I'm gonna go with a field goal. I think LSU wins by a field goal, and I'm putting it at the lower, like, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm putting it as a one because they're both these teams are so inconsistent this year. I can't feel really good about picking um LSU to beat Bama because I just don't feel it's not very consistent to what I'm feeling with it because it's just
Too
the
bad they can't end in a
inconsistencies.
tie. Too bad it can't end in a tie.
Yeah, right. Oh, if only, right? But yeah, that's what I think here. As I got it all going down there. So let's games that we have coming this week here, and we'll do a little top 25 action here. Let me pull it up real quick here, if it ever does come up. Let's see. Will it give me? We already know about the LSU Alabama. That's the first one we picked. Purdue taking on number 2 Ohio State. Juicy. Who you got in that game?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Man, you ain't giving Purdue a chance.
I mean, Ohio State's looked a little vulnerable against Nebraska, but I mean, if you want to find a silver lining, but outside of that, I don't think Purdue's going to win.
I got Ohio State winning too. I'm just pulling your leg a little bit. Number 4 Miami versus Georgia Tech. And man, I thought Georgia Tech was on turning on a key this year, but that big win
They
against
kind of
Florida
fizzled
State that we
out.
thought, but then that ended up becoming something completely different by the time this the month of November comes around, right? So I got Miami winning this one. Juicy, who you got?
I got Miami. I was going to add Miami look started off strong, then they looked a little bit weak, but now they seem to be turning it back up again, and Georgia Tech's kind of fizzling out. So yeah, I got Miami in this one.
Florida taking on number 5 Texas. Texas at home. Give me the Longhorns. Who you got, Juicy?
I say the Longhorns, but I think this is Florida's been kind of a little hangs around a little bit. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a little bit closer than what this spread says, though.
Number 3 Georgia taking on number 16 Ole Miss. I got Georgia winning this game. Who you got, Juicy?
Oh well, I think I'm gonna do the old upset pick here. I think Ole Miss is gonna pull it off against Georgia.
Interesting. Michigan taking on number 8.
I'm gonna go with the lane train.
Look, Michigan taking on number 8 Indiana. This one here, hmm. Michigan on the road. Michigan hasn't done very well this year, but I got Indiana
Indiana's looked
winning
really
this one.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, Indiana's been a huge
14
surprise.
and a half point. You can
Indiana's
go.
taken college football by storm. They got their first. Hello.
I got you.
Okay, they got their first 9-0 start in school history. You know, I'm gonna go with the Hoosiers. Michigan's really looked bad, especially I bet since they missing Jim Harbaugh. I'm gonna go with the Hoosiers.
Number 17 Iowa State taking on Kansas. This one's spread's kind of low than I thought it would be, but I got Iowa State winning this one. Who you got, Juicy?
I got Iowa State. Kansas been a huge disappointment this year.
Number 23 Clemson versus Virginia Tech. I got Clemson winning this one over Virginia Tech. Who you got, Juicy?
Yeah, give me Clemson.
Number 25, Army taking on North Texas. Army is one of those G5 teams that I mentioned earlier that's in, that is in competition for that G5 spot. So give me the Black Knights. I think that'll be North Texas. Who you got, Juicy?
Yeah, I got the Black Knights.
Number 20, Colorado taking on Texas Tech here. And I'm going to pull in upset. Texas Tech is going to beat Colorado. Who you got, Juicy?
Dude, you read my mind. You must have read my mind. I'm serious. I'm going with an upset pick as well. Texas Tech over Colorado.
Maryland taking on number 1, Oregon. I have Oregon winning this one. Who you got, Juicy?
Oregon.
Oregon? I thought you were about to pull an upset pick on me right there.
I'm not quite that bold.
Mississippi State versus Mississippi State taking on number 7, Tennessee. I have Tennessee winning this one. Who you got, Juicy?
Well, Mississippi State's just gonna have to keep waiting for their first conference win. I got the
Yeah.
Volunteers.
Florida State taking on number 10, Notre Dame here. I got Notre Dame winning this one. Who you got, Juicy?
Oh, I got Notre Dame. It's not even gonna be close. Florida State's looked atrocious this year.
Oklahoma taking on 24, Missouri. Man, Missouri, I just don't trust them. Give me the Sooners, man. I got Oklahoma upsetting them. What you
Missouri's
got?
been even Missouri's been even less reliable than Alabama or LSU or something. I'm agree with you actually. I'm gonna go with the Sooners also.
Washington taking on number 6, Penn State. Give me the Nittany Lions. Who you got, Juicy?
Yeah, I got the Nittany Lions.
I'm gonna be a Wolfpack fan for this week. Nevada taking on number 12, Boise State. But I think Boise wins. Who you got, Juicy?
I got Boise State. Yeah, I know UL or them G5 schools need Boise State to lose. So
Yeah, if they don't lose, they're gonna lock that up real easy. Virginia versus number 18, Pitt. I got Pittsburgh. Who you got, Juicy?
I got Pitt. I was thinking about it, but I'm gonna go with Pitt.
Number 9, BYU taking on Utah here. BYU's been one of those really good teams this year, and I think they'll continue that against Utah here. And like I said, you're gonna have to be in that top 8 because look where BYU's at. They're ranked number 9 right now, and
Yeah,
they're not really in.
But they Big 12 now though.
Yeah, like they're gonna get one of those auto bids, so that makes it even harder for you if they would just get the auto bid at 9 and they don't move anywhere, they're gonna be in a really good spot. So I think BYU is going to take it against Utah. Utah State versus number 21, Washington State here. Now, Washington State's also, this is kind of a funny thing here. The Tupac conference, basically. Um, so Washington State,
Do they get an automatic bid?
they don't get an auto bid unless they get higher ranked than Boise State because the top 4, the Power 4 have auto bids, and they got the one at large highest ranked G5 conference. You caught a
Well, a
pack.
couple of those they gotta have at least 2 or 3 other power 4 schools that get uh bids too. I'm sure though.
Yeah, they're gonna like take some away. Like those at large spots. Only one G5 school is getting in the playoffs. They're not gonna allow 2 of them.
So
Um,
4 automatics, and then you're gonna have one G5. So that's 5. So you still got 7 spots. It's gonna be like 7 at large bids after that, basically.
That's why I'm saying for you to get guaranteed a spot, you need to be in that top 8. The numbers don't lie about that because you're going to have to be in that top 8 to get into that spot. If you're outside the top 10, you have no chance of hell at actually making that playoff.
Now you say that the G5 is not gonna get any more than
As
2.
as far as
Now
at large is, wait, what?
I would argue that if I would argue though that unless the G5's got like a bunch of schools in the top 25, then they may be able to push 2 of them.
I don't see how you're even getting to that point there. The only way that because Boise's going to take one of those, and they're 12 right now. It would be okay. Let's say if Washington State just wins out the rest of their games, and let's see what they're playing with anyway. Just to kind of like speak on the G5 and their fight for it here at this point here. Um, if is it going to pull up anything for me?
Oh, they're gonna win out. They got Utah State, New Mexico, Oregon State, Wyoming.
And they're not. There's only one team at 500. That's Oregon State right now. I they would probably end up 15 or 16, I would think. And I'm trying to be optimistic about like them getting in there and stuff. But I think that if you look at it from the G5 perspective here, you're gonna have to get into that top like for teams to make it in there. I don't possible with the way this year's goes. Like I said, that top eight is going to be where you're going to want to be here. And you see, you got 4 auto bids for those Power Four conferences, and then you're going to have if you try to throw another G5 in there along with like Boise State or whatever. I don't think Washington State gets any higher than 15 or 16 on the ranking. That's why I think you need to be in the top eight rank wise for you to actually get into the playoff. I just don't see a path for a second G5 school to get in there.
I mean, all the teams ranked at least 1 through 10 right now are probably just about guaranteed to get in, board, and they have some kind of huge trip up. Just the rankings I'm looking at right now. Then you got like those bubble teams from Alabama on down to Army at number 18. I would say any one of these teams somewhere in this mix is gonna get in.
I let's say if Boise does lose, okay? And they're at 12 right now. So if they go down list and Washington State to jump them somewhere around November because they would have 2 losses on the year. But I mean, they might still put Boise in there because they only lost to Oregon. That's a very good loss, depending on who Boise would lose to. Is also another
Now
thing there.
after Boise State, the next G5 school would be Army because all these other ones before that are Power Four schools.
Washington State is in Power Four though.
Well, that's true,
They would
but you
fall
got
underneath the Tupac conferences.
Army, you got Army, then Washington State.
Army's 25. Washington. Oh wait, yeah, Washington State's 21. So they're 4 spots ahead. So Army would have to jump Washington State at some point.
Okay, I'm looking at.
You look
I'm
at
looking at the AP rankings. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong set of
okay.
rankings.
Yeah, those
Now it
don't
makes
matter
sense.
this week. We already got the actual playoff bracket going right here.
Yeah, now it makes sense. I'm looking at the wrong rankings.
So like it's got to be a Washington State loss. Army would have to jump them, and then they're going to be looking at Army's going to be looking at Boise State to lose for them to get in there themselves. There, that's why I said on when we were talking about the Raging Cajun podcast with Jalen that I don't think the Cajuns going to get in because there's so much that would have to go right for them to get into there. Even if they would have beat Tulane, I still think it would have been a really hard spot for them to get in there because their schedule was just so weak compared to Boise State and Boise State only having that one loss over Oregon, number one ranked team in the country. When you're trying to compare resumes, I would rather take Boise State's over the Cajuns. Just looking at it objectively, looking at both the resumes there, because you got a loss against number one team in the country. I
So it's
mean,
either going to
they
be
they
Boise
didn't get
State.
blown out either. They only lost by 3 points in that game. So look, 3 points is nothing in college football. That could have swung either way.
It's either going to be Boise State or Washington State. It looks like.
That's what I'm thinking. Because Washington State's got a really good chance to win out here, like Utah State, New Mexico, Oregon State, and then you got Wyoming.
Wyoming.
They'll wrap up the year. So when you look at those last 4 teams like that, those 4 teams at the end of that schedule there, they got a really good shot to at least stay ranked here for sure. Um, I don't know where uh, looking at who's in the top eight here, let me go pull that up here real quick so everybody can kind of see how this playoff is going to sort out here. LSU's got to make it they're gonna have to win out. Even it's gonna be kind of a curse though. Do you think LSU, if they would win out and they would just somehow miss the SEC championship game? Let's say if Texas A&M wins out and they won head to head against LSU, Georgia wins out, A&M would get over LSU because of a head to head
If A and
record.
M wins out and like Tennessee would win out, even if LSU won out, I think unless like Notre Dame slips up or SMU or something, I think LSU would miss the playoffs
You think so? I
because
was
we already
wondering
got
if you were.
Texas.
Yeah, I was
Because they
wondering
still
if
got Texas in there, Tennessee.
so. Uh, if LSU misses the SEC championship game, do you think they have to make it the playoff? Because if they go, they're going to play against Georgia, and they'll probably lose that game. Probably.
Yeah, if they make the championship game, they'd have to win it. I would think that'd be their if they win the SC championship game. If they make it, that'd be their only guaranteed way to get into the playoffs. I mean,
Is there a path there for LSU? You think?
oh, there is the one I just named. There's one path.
Would you okay? If you're an LSU fan, do you root for them not to make the SEC championship game and hope that they stay perfect, or would you rather play that extra game?
I would I would take the chance on not playing a game. I mean, you got to think that Indiana and Penn State and Indiana and Ohio State still have to play each other. Um, that Penn State and Ohio State, I think, already played. Um,
Yeah, they played last week. Ohio State
yeah,
won that game.
but Indiana, I think, still has to play both Penn State and Ohio State, so that's gonna work itself out. Um, SEC championship games got to work out, but I think both of those teams would get in. Uh, I'm just looking at a few scenarios here.
I'm thinking here, looking. I'm
Alabama,
looking
well,
at
the Iron Bowl still has to happen, but
yeah,
I think
Auburn, Alabama. It's a
I think
rivalry game.
Alabama's still going to
These
win that
rivalry
too.
games here.
So
So Texas and A&M do still have to play each other. That is
that's
their.
another one too. So that's
So that's gonna solve that one of them standings. Like we pulled up the SC championship standings. Which you know what? By the way, I'm gonna pull that back up again, just so everybody can kind of see what we're talking about here. Watching this here. So looking at this here, y'all can see the screen here. There's Georgia right here at one, Texas A&M right behind them, Tennessee, and then you got Tennessee in the mix there too. So you got these five SEC teams right here, all with one loss in conference here, just trying to find a spot somewhere in this here. I
and
just
Tennessee
think
still has to play Georgia and Vanderbilt.
yeah, like so it's gonna sort itself out. Let's say for let's either Tennessee or Georgia wins. One of those are gonna be at two losses, no drop. That's why I think it's imperative for LSU to win out because it would really put them in a really good spot there.
It
But
would put them in a good spot. I mean, because like I was looking at some of these teams' schedule, they still have it still kind of got
and
to
then
work itself
and then
out.
Texas and Texas A&M they play each other, so that'll be
Mhm.
two losses. So you're gonna have two teams with two losses at least when we get to it here. So
So I mean, it's
LSU,
not mathematics. So they're not mathematically eliminated from it.
yeah. So LSU schools are even Alabama's in a kind of Alabama's hoping that they win this. They're fighting for a playoff hopes themselves here Saturday as well. Um, but just because where they're ranked at, which I'm kind of shocked they're ranked as high as they are compared to LSU. I thought LSU had been ranked a little bit higher than Alabama. But I think what hurt LSU, the LSU has a bad loss against USC. Granted, when we started the season, we thought USC might be a little bit better than that. That's kind of what we're looking at here in that perspective there. So Vanderbilt's an interesting story, but I just don't see Vandy getting in there. It would be a cool story to have that happen. I don't trust Missouri of those with the twos. I even Ole Miss. I don't really. They would have to be Georgia. Ole Miss would literally have to be Georgia to get into that spot there. I just
I
don't see it.
called it. I called it. They might.
Hey, they got their backs against the wall, that's for sure. That would actually be a shoe if Ole Miss were to beat Georgia. If you're an LSU fan, you might not want that because you're going to have to play that extra game, which,
Mhm.
if you lose it, do you get knocked out of discussion for that at large spot, though, if you would lose? That's the
The
discussion, I think.
only the only teams that are guaranteed, I think, spots, even if they lose their conference championship game right now, are Oregon and Miami.
It's kind
Because
of
if they go
debatable.
12-0, if they go 12-0, and just lose their conference championship game, I think they're still gonna get in, especially Oregon.
I think Texas would get in.
Texas will probably be safe. Indiana,
I would lean safe with Texas.
if Indiana runs the table, goes 12-0, loses the conference championship game, I would argue that they would probably still get in.
Georgia has a good win against Texas. I'm thinking of resumes right now. Um, Alabama had that one to Vanderbilt, and that other one to Tennessee. Tennessee had that bad loss against Arkansas. So, like I said, these next 2 weeks here are we're gonna see a lot of change in this little thing here because you're gonna see two teams drop from that one loss spot at least, for sure.
LSU, if they beat Alabama, definitely jump back in the top 12 at least.
They'll be in that. They'll be like third probably after it's all said and done if they win out for sure. Just depending on who it is that loses and wins here. LSU needs A&M to lose to Texas for like positional gains in
But
the
I can tell
SEC.
you, if LSU wins out, they not getting a first round bye though. I can tell you that.
Oh no, they're gonna be playing.
They
They'll
gonna be
probably be
playing
at
the first
home.
round.
They're gonna. The committee will probably put them where they're hosting a playoff game at Tiger Stadium. We're gonna learn a lot
Be
about this
nice though.
this format for sure in the next couple of like weeks and stuff. But the way it's looking like here, Boise's going to take one of those spots here. Um, and you got the four. You got BYU being ranked, I think 8 or 9. They're regardless, they're going to be it's going to be hurt one of them top 10 teams, for sure. Like the higher ranked teams that get auto bids there, the better it'll be for the lower ranked teams to get in. But the if you now we hadn't even talked about this though. What if Oregon gets upset in the Big Ten championship game? Or you
I
have
still think they're gonna get in though.
I'm okay. I'm not done with that statement there yet because if Oregon gets upset by a team that's like really lower ranked than them in that lower spectrum of the top 25, you're gonna have a stolen bid basically somewhere because someone's gonna get left out to dry on that back end of that. Because if you're like, let's say BYU, they lose their Big 12 championship game. That goes somewhere else. BYU's is sitting there 8 or 9. Now all of a sudden they're like, okay, this isn't looking too good for me. You see, so like BYU isn't even really a lock in terms of like the Big 12 itself here. Like Miami looks like they're going to win the ACC, but they're only ranked 11. So it's going to be tough, regardless how you look at it.
Or if SMU wins the ACC, well, I mean they can automatically get in.
It's going to be tough. There's a lot that needs to be
And I
said and
keep
done before we
forgetting,
get to
I
that
keep
point.
forgetting SMU's an ACC school now, which I keep seeing them so high up in the rankings.
And like, what's SMU ranked? I'm trying to remember what they're
They're
ranked.
13th. They're ranked 13th.
Look, there you go again. Like you got like a lower ranked team that's taking one of those
But
spots in
then,
that
but now
12.
they're in a power. But now they're in a power conference now. So
Yeah, the more of those like lower ranked teams that are in those auto slots, the worse it's gonna be for teams that are outside that top 10 in power. Like it hurts the power conferences more, especially if they get stolen bid somewhere, like Georgia being ranked as high as they are, number three. They might get a team that's lower ranked than them, beat them, and then it's a crazy thing going on. Like if LSU goes, let's say if LSU goes to the SEC championship game and they just stay like 12, 11, and Georgia loses to LSU, then you have an
obviously
11 ranked
LSU's getting
LSU
in.
team taking an auto bid away from Georgia, which at that point it gets even crazier because LSU would have a first round bye because they're an auto bid and they get one of those top four slots, four seeds.
I kind of like it though. It makes it much more unpredictable than the traditional four teams we were used to. I kind of like this talk because it makes everything so much more wide open now.
Yeah, there's so many scenarios that you could just throw out there that we could be here all night talking about this kind of thing because
We
there's so
literally
many
never
different
know who's
paths.
gonna. I can't tell you who's gonna win the national title like this year, based on
Yeah,
how crazy college football has been.
yeah. I mean, I just think this is going to be one of those years that is going to be really tough on everybody. Let's see. It's just going to be a crazy year for sure. What happens here? So, Juicy, what you any closing thoughts you got here for LSU versus Alabama?
No, I think that's it, man.
All right. Well, thank y'all for tuning in here to this episode here of the Fishbowl Radio. We hope you have a great and wonderful night here. We'll see you here next time here with the Fishbowl.